Newspaper, Supreme Court justices work for us. Plateau APC rep boast, don't destabilize state, group ones. And then you also find infrastructure, public-private partnership key to Nigeria's growth, Shatima, on page 8. Leadership this Friday still looks at the Judicial Council to screen 22 justices, that's Supreme Court. Only 11 will join Apex Court bench, North Central, South East top with 12 nominees. I killed as police shites clash. One killed, I beg your pardon, as police shites clash in Kaduna on page 6. One killed as police shites clash in Kaduna on page 6. What you also see there is appeal court declares Zamfara Guba election inconclusive. Others INEC to hold fresh poll in 3 local government areas. Taraba Assembly trimmed local government tenure to 2 years, and that's on page 8. Standard Times, court sacks Zamfara governors, declares poll inconclusive. And then above that, you also see Bayelsa governor seeks legislation on vote buying while we suspended nationwide strike. NLC TUC speaks on that one. Now, first news, appeal court sacks Zamfara governor, others rerun, declares March 18 Goba poll inconclusive, Maradun, Birimagaji, Bukunyum, electorate to vote again. Insecurity has reduced under Tinubu, NSA Rebadu boast. Nigerian pilot, borrowing must stop. That's Finance Minister declares, says Nigeria can't rely on borrowing to survive, cautions that currently Nigeria is not in a position to rely on borrowing locally, internationally, insist that Nigeria needs adequate revenue to fund budgets, critical projects. Perform or be sacked, Niger Delta Minister tells new NDDC board on page 8. Now, Daily Asset, Court of Appeal declares them for a governorship election inconclusive. But let's look at that, a delicate story. A delicate defies court order, suspends Osun Chief Judge in federal government's bankruptcy claim on page 6. Nigerian News Direct, telcos frustrated as banks' USSD debt rises to 200 billion naira. Operators threaten to block data banks withdraw services. You also have above that how concessions, waivers granted by Buhari made us lose 1.3 trillion, and that's coming from the customs. And the Blueprint newspaper is looking at another story there. NSA Rebadu speaks there in that story. Nigeria surmounting security challenges, targets 2 million BPD crude 2024. And then you also find there Senate confirms Maida as NCC executive chairman. This day, Fagbemi, prosecution of alleged terrorists resumes in 2 weeks, says federal government secured over 500 convictions, 45 billion naira for features in 2 years. And then you also see that above the masthead, Wale Edun, Nigeria needs to generate adequate revenue, not borrowing to fund 2024 budget. And then New Telegraph, we need to clean up our electoral system. Abdulsalami Abubakar, Finance Minister, Nigeria can't rely on borrowing, and that's another story. Nigerian Tribune is looking at governorship election, anxiety in Kano Plateau as court orders rerun in Zamfara, 3 local governments affected. And then you also want to see how Southeast, North Central get 3 Supreme Court justices each, while we are against borrowing to finance 2024 budget, and that's Finance Minister. And yes, The Guardian. What you see there is from recreation to chronic diseases, poverty. It's a big story on 4th and 5th page. How sachet alcoholic drinks breed alcoholism, thwart national development. That's an interesting story there. But let's also look at that story. Services shut down imminent as USSD debts hit 200 billion naira. And you also see that story on insecurity, and that, you know, HS of Buhari led to a lot of misanomalies. But Business Day, soaring prices leave Nigerians caught between food and medicine. I think this was the highlight of Kakaki Socials yesterday about drugs. But Naira falls 9.8% in 3 months on single FX regime. And then we also have 500,000 South African subscribers kiss DSTV goodbye with Afreximbank signs $50 million loan deal with Green Economic Zone, Kaduna State. Netflix subscriber numbers reflect Nigeria's economic struggles as well. Now let's come to the lead story this morning. Chuks, I'll start with you with the Supreme Court justices, which seems to be making rounds. One is that story, but let's look at the one where the Plateau APC rep boasts, where he said, Supreme Court justices work for us. Plateau APC rebels don't destabilize state. Group wants him in return. How, I mean, is this not that, some people since yesterday have been saying there's an indictment on the judiciary, but how do you look at the story as a headline this morning?
Yes, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate that a serving lawmaker, and for those who know Yusuf Gabi, he's a ranking member of the House of Reps, and he nearly became, but for zoning, he nearly became Speaker of the House. And as we speak, he's chairman House Committee on the Navy, so he's not given to idle talk. So for him to have boasted that they have Supreme Court justices in their pocket, I think it's the biggest indictment coming after what Senator Bulkachua said in June, and then what the Honorable Justice Datijo Mohammed said a few weeks ago about the powers of the enormous powers of the CGN of Nigeria and how it tends to breed corruption. So it is good that the National Judicial Service Commission has nominated 22 persons to fill vacant positions in both the Supreme and the Court of Appeal. So, but it's also a huge indictment on Nigerians that it took a retiring Justice of the Supreme Court, Honorable Datijo Mohammed, to remind us, to wake us up. You see, what Honorable Gadi talked about Supreme Court in Plateau came as little surprise. He just echoed what most of us already know. Look at what happened in Zamfara yesterday. How can the Court of Appeal, talk about an election that happened in March? They went to tribunal and Dauda won, and then now suddenly the Court of Appeal realizes that 3 local government areas. You see, it calls to question our electoral system. The elections held in March, and now we're talking about going to run elections, conduct elections in 3 LGS. Look at Plateau is very, very important because it's key to this puzzle. We all know what the House of Assembly Tribunal, Governorship House of Assembly Tribunal said, what they did. They nullified the elections of most PDP candidates because they claimed that Plateau PDP did not comply with the court order on the EXCO at the time. And then the same, because we have thought that precedence is always set in case of, to determine judicial matters. When Vice President Shetima was dragged to court, the Supreme Court said, well, the appeal and Supreme Court said, well, it's a pre-election matter, and that pre-election matters, courts have no jurisdiction, have no powers over pre-election matters. But strangely, in Plateau State, and to even compound the what do you call it, to compound the tragedy in Plateau, where APC came second, in all cases where APC came second in Plateau, they were declared outright winners. But where Labour Party came second, the same courts ordered the fresh elections be conducted. So, before now, we've always known that, of course, from what Senator Bulkachua told us, we know that it's possible for spouses and and family members to influence the choice of judges who sit on electoral matters and the outcome. Don't forget that he said it with all sense of responsibility, that most of his friends in the Senate were there courtesy of his relationship with his wife, who at the time was the president of the Court of Appeal. So if Honorable Justice Datijo Mohammed said that told us that, because we don't sit on we don't sit on the Supreme Court bench, that the CJN has over 80% powers, over what happens in the Supreme Court. It also follows that the President of the Court of Appeal has 80 or more percent powers, on what happens in the Court of Appeal. And don't forget, this rep did not say this yesterday. He didn't say this last week. It was weeks ago. And as we speak, the Supreme Court, which is really garrulous, which has attacked, Supreme Court has attacked private individuals who have vented their, who have vented their personal opinion. Supreme Court has jumped on them and tore them to pieces. But Rep. Gadi said this weeks ago, and as we speak, the Supreme Court has yet to, fault that. They've yet to dispute that. So what does that tell us? It tells us that this thing is true.
All right.
That in fact, that they work for APC.
For the work for APC. Yes. So, if you look at that last statement by Chooks, and then you look at the fact that 1 or 2 or 3 of the papers also led with appeal court declaring Zamfara poll inconclusive. Bala Yusuf on page 7 to know their fate today. And this is coming from the same courts, that seemingly is under the,
grip of
the incumbent party and the main party. Do you trust the judgments?
You see, everybody is looking the other way, while the judiciary is turning Nigeria into a laughable state. Yes, because maybe it has favored some people, nobody speaks out. The funny judgments that have been churned out by these justices and judges is gradually moving Nigeria down, down, down. In Kano, 3 judges came in a tribunal and withdrew over 163,000 votes, people's votes, to declare somebody who lost an election winner. And they are clapping. They are clapping. In Plateau, like Chooks said, a matter Supreme Court has ruled on was revisited, and all the candidates that failed the election are now declared winners. Mm. People are looking the other way. In several other states, look at in Zamfara. And it now comes to tally with what the authority led with. For an honorable member to come out and boast that judges or justices are working for them. Nobody is talking about it. We are clapping. You see, in Igbo land, they said when you carry a dead man's body, to those who are not concerned, they will look at it as if you are carrying a bunch of firewood. That is why these people can rush to a court and get an injunction, an open injunction, and say Labour should not exercise their powers. Judiciary in Nigeria, if not checked, will sink this country. I have said this severally here, that the way the judiciary is going, time shall come when you say go to court and people will say no. In Plateau last week, when Labour was joining, when the Plateau chapter, the chairman there said, when the journalist asked, but there is a court injunction, he said, is there any court in Nigeria? That was what a Labour leader asked in Plateau State. You see, the way our judiciary is going, especially in matters of election and democracy, time shall come when, if you brandish a court order, you will be beaten. You will be beaten. Because they are free. Now they say they have listed 22 judges or justices for Supreme Court posting. Who nominated these judges? How were they nominated? We have seen here where every senior justice in this country would want either his son or his daughter to become a judge. That is why you see a senator standing in plenary and boasted that my colleagues here can attest how I helped them when my wife was and that same person is still moving freely. You see, I'm sounding it clearly here that we must check these people called judges, justices. We must check this sector called judiciary, because they are plunging Nigeria into a disaster, a looming one, a looming disaster. You look at which state like that a senator was sacked. Till tomorrow, people are still protesting because they know who they voted for.
Yes.
How can a judge sit and say 163,000 votes declared it null and void? How can somebody sit in San Francisco, 3 local government areas, order a rerun? Though that one, there's still a window of a Supreme Court. But for a man to come and boast that Supreme Court judges worked for them, I doubt the type of democracy.
The Supreme Court will do the right thing.
Yeah.
I doubt the type of democracy that we are running and the type of justices and judiciary.
So you're saying in essence that the judiciary has lost its autonomy and believability amongst the people?
It's not.
Of course. Even the chief judge of FCT at a point warned that Nigeria will slip into anarchy if if people lose confidence in the judiciary. And I tell you, let's just make a vox pop on the streets and ask people what they feel about Nigerian judiciary. And you see that total confidence has been lost. Total confidence has been lost. The 2023 election was an election that people voted according to their conscience. But those they voted in are losing their seats. Regrettably, losing their seats because of the judiciary. That is why you see, people have lost confidence in the judiciary. They have to do something to revive their integrity. It's a lost integrity already.
You see, let me quickly say something there. You see, it's very important for us to realize that every lawyer, you know, there's a man called Lord Gordon Howard. He was the Chief Justice of England. You know, there's this maxim, this aphorism that justice should not only be done, but be seen to be done. It was this man, 100 years ago, 9th of November, 1923. That was when he came up with this. Because something happened in England, and there was an accident. They went to court, and the clerk of the court went into the chamber, because the clerk of the court works in a particular chamber who sued somebody. He went inside with the judges and came out. And when they ruled, the man said, no, you cannot do that, because justice, not only must justice be done, but be seen to be done. Because you see, the essence of justice is fairness, equity, you understand, transparency. If these 3 elements are lacking, then there's no justice.
Yeah.
Like as you just said, time is coming, and time is now, when people will no longer trust the courts. Because you see, they said go to court, and we saw what happened in the courts. Do you know, as we speak, before now, the police had the worst image in Nigeria. I train as a sociologist, and I know this. I'm a journalist. But now I can tell you that the judiciary is seen as perceived as the most corrupt institution in Nigeria. Do you know what happened yesterday? I spoke with about 5 senior advocates of Nigeria yesterday, senior lawyers. I said, look at what happened in Plateau State, where they said, my brother, please, they're not relying on us to speak for them. That they feel so humiliated, they feel so embarrassed that a lawmaker will come and say this about Supreme Court, that don't worry, is it not there? That because it was euphemism. You know, they've delivered cases on concerning Court of Appeal. You know, the only case remaining now is the governorship case, because it's only a governorship case that goes up to the Supreme Court. The man said that these guys want to come to the Supreme Court, that we're waiting for, that these guys work for us. So a country like that, somebody boasts openly and people clap, and Everybody's happy about that. Everybody's quiet about that.
We are just, when Nigerians are watching. You see, when you go to a court, you will see a symbol of judiciary, a statue that has no eye, closed,
blindfolded.
Blindfolded, but now it is open. Because the blindfolding there means we are not seeing both the litigant and the... listen.
They're not partisan.
Yes, they are not partisan.
Not partisan.
That is the symbol of that. But from what they are turning Nigeria's judiciary into, that symbol now has an eye. It is now seeing. But some people are enjoying it. Like I have said here, when they carry a corpse, there is an adage in Igbo land that says when you carry a corpse, for what somebody who is not concerned, he will think that it is a bunch of firewood until it touches him.
Okay, so Chuks, coming back to you, and you look at the fact that some people would also say it seems as if the judiciary is held by the juggler.
Held by whom?
And a court between, the Nigerian and the media trial that they go through every day, and the truth as it seems to Nigerians. You've spoken about a few good men who behind closed doors have told you the rest is up to you.
Yeah.
What happens to the few?
SANs. No, they told me yesterday. I wanted to sound them out and say, this is my brother. But you see, if you see SANs in a country, that's the highest silks, Leonard Six, throwing their hands up in the air in despair, that country has a problem. Because, you see, the moment I heard the CJN say, telling judges, newly appointed judges, not to plug their ears to public opinion, then I knew that we were in for a very long ride and bumpy ride.
So that you're saying
because you see, to start with, the opening chapter of the Constitution says, we the people. What does we the people mean? It's we. We sit down to say, because you see, if you're a student of political science, over the ages, people tried several forms of government, So people like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, people like John Locke, they came and said, okay, Baron Montesquieu, okay, people have tried this, and this, okay, let us try the doctrine of separation of powers. If we try that, maybe, because you see, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts.
Absolutely.
It's a given. So now, what we're trying to do now, we're trying to make one man life, the emperor. Because you see, if a man because the framers of the Constitution, they envisage a situation where one man will want to control everything. They said, no, this judiciary, this is your role, this is your role. And that's why even the media, that's why we come here every day and hold these people accountable. Because if they like, let them give billions of dollars to judges in Supreme Court. That's their business. I'll come here and point that out. Because just as judges are given powers by the Constitution, you and I as journalists also have our powers. And what's our power? To hold them accountable. So when a rep openly boasts that they have the Supreme Court justices in their pocket and these judges fail to act, it is incumbent on you, Ada, and you, Ezocha, and me to hold them accountable and tell people that this is wrong. Because, you see, it has gone to a stage where people now feel, people are so weather-beaten, that they don't care. Last Friday when there was this protest at the airport, I was there. And I was fibbing. Somebody said, oh, God, so that they go beat you, or they go beat you. You see, it shows how low, the bar we've placed the bar.
Let's go to This Day newspaper. This Day had that story again on the choices. So it nominates, I think, 22. Appeal court judges to Supreme Court. It says, I think it started off, I think I was going to that Fagbemi story. Said prosecution of alleged terrorists resume in 2 weeks, but above that, court declares Zamfara Guba poll inconclusive, others withdrawn in 3 local girls. Ganduje, we will use Imo as base to liberate Southeast. And I think the reason why I came to this case is that if you look at one, the court declaring Zamfara Guba poll inconclusive, others rerun in 3 local government areas. We saw what happened in Imo.
Yes, the magic.
And Kogi and Bayelsa as well. Everybody would say go to court at the end of the day. And those sort of statements coming from the leadership of the APC also send signals. You have one saying the court is in our pockets. Yeah. Almost that's what he's saying.
And then
you see
they say we will
use Imo to liberate the Southeast. Now, my question is, my question is, when you look at the FJC nominating 22 appellate court judges to Supreme Court, do you also see all of this tied to the reason why our elections are the way they are? At least when they end up in court, the people are expecting some sort of respite and they don't. But is it at that point of decision at the judiciary, or is at the point of nomination? Because you've seen these 22 nominees. People are asking, who are they? How did they come on board? Who nominated them? Are they still not going to be playing to the piper's tune? And essentially, I come to you because if you do not address this, at the end of the day, you will still get the same recycled conversation that this man made in Jos. It begins from here. That
was why I asked. You remember I asked here, these 22 justices, who nominated them? Who will screen them? How did they emerge? I saw where leadership said, he listed some, he said priority. He will list the other ones and say reserved. You now see what we are talking about. Yes. It is not a case of let the best emerge. Yeah. It is not a case of choices have already been made. How can you, or how could you come and say this one is a priority, while the other one, who has the same qualifications, the same qualities, is a reserve? That's why I asked this question. Who nominated this? How will the 11 emerge? This is because I tell you that there is no one of these 22 justices that did not get an inducement from maybe a state governor or what. I bet it. We know how these appointments are being made. And that is why we get a judiciary of this type. We get a judiciary of when a judge, when a commissioner, a House of Reps member will tell you, remember the role I played giving you this job. If I bring a case to your court, already the bias is there, the sentiments are there. So that is why we don't do due diligence in the appointment, in the selection, in the screening of our judges. And it's not only in... Isn't it
a chain of reaction? Because, you're talking about judges. There's even an allusion that even the workers within the court...
That is why I'm saying that it is not...
is a chain...
It is not only in the area of judges. Even the workers that work there, even the workers that work in other agencies, even in the ministers, in the commissioners, local government chairmen. That is why there is serious decay in this country. I watched a video where the governor of Imo State was talking to his supporters in Igbo. He was saying that that this one, I'm just trying to, I say it in Igbo. And they were clapping for him. Yes. He said, this one that God has given me, do I look to you like somebody who will just let it go? He said, I cannot. You see, APC national chairman said that they will use Imo
to liberate the Southeast.
To liberate the Southeast.
All right, gentlemen, I think that's what we'll call it.
No, imagine using Imo.